What's going on, baseball fans? How are we doing? So in my last couple of videos, I've talked about the most surprising players, the most disappointing players, but in this video, I'm going to talk about the most improved players. Let's go talk about it. Before I get to the actual list, I want to start off with an honorable mention, and that's Griffin Jax of the Minnesota Twins. He had himself a bumpy rookie season last year. If we take a look at the numbers, overall he had 82 innings, 18 games, 14 of them were starts, a 6.37 ERA, a 6.47 FIP, 7 strikeouts per 9, 3 walks per 9, 2.5 home runs per 9. That's no good, but he has completely turned it around this year. First off, the big reason for why he's having a lot more success is he's just been pitching out of the bullpen, not focusing on starting, just focusing on coming out of the bullpen. 21 games overall, 31 in the third innings. Look at the ERA, much better, 2.59, a FIP of 3.14. His strikeouts are up 3 per 9. His walks are down. His home runs are down. And the big reason why he's having a lot of success is he's focusing on just throwing his fastball and his slider more. If we take a look at last year in 2021, he led with the fastball right around 46% of the time. Slider was at around 31% of the time, changeup 14%, curveball 9%. If you take a look, he is throwing less changeups and less curveballs. Changeup is down to 12.7%, curveball is down to 8.3%. But the big thing is he is leading with the slider. Last year, he led with the fastball, but this year, the slider is his go-to pitch. He's been nasty out of this bullpen. I'm loving what Griffin Jax is doing. For me, he's an honorable mention. Didn't quite make my list, but I did want to point him out. Now let's get to the actual list. Starting off my list at number 10, I have Michael Wacha. He has been a huge bargain for the Red Sox this year. They've had some injuries in that rotation, but he has stepped up in a big way for the Red Sox this year. Take a look at the numbers. Through 10 starts, a 2.33 ERA. That FIP is a lot higher at 3.95, so the expected numbers are a little higher than the surface numbers. But overall, Wacha has been a pleasant surprise for the Red Sox this year. Let's see why this is happening. If we go take a look here on Baseball Savant, if we look at his pitch percentage, he is leading with the changeup this year, right around the same amount of changeups as he's throwing with the fastballs, but he's also throwing a lot more sinkers. If we take a look here, last year in 2021, 3.3% of the time he was throwing sinkers, but now that is up to 14.8% of the time. That's getting him some ground balls. His ground ball percentage is actually not that much different. It's actually lower than it was last year, 42.5% in 2021, down to 41.3%. But the difference with Wacha on the Red Sox is that they are shifting for him a lot more. Last year in 2021, against right-handers, a 26% shift percentage. This year, it's up to 43.2% of the time, and same thing with lefties, 72.5% in 2021, up to 81.4% of the time. The Red Sox, they're working as a team with Wacha here. He's getting the ground balls. They're playing the defense behind him. He's throwing more sinkers. It's working out. Wacha has definitely improved. A big part of that is the defense behind him, but because of that defense, he has much better numbers. At number 9, I have Tyler Anderson. Holy cow, Tyler Anderson has been really good this year. He almost threw a no-hitter the other night if it wasn't for Shohei freaking Ohtani. My goodness, but look at these numbers. 12 games, 10 starts, a 2.82 ERA, a 3.09 FIP. He's getting 1 more strikeout per 9 than he was last season. He's walking less guys, giving up less home runs. The big reason for this is simply just how he's using his pitches. If you take a look here, he's throwing less fastballs, he's throwing less cutters, but he's throwing more changeups. Last year, 24.6% changeups, and then up to 32.2% this year. The changeup is also just a better pitch for him this year. If you take a look, last year, he was averaging 28.2 inches of movement, and that is up to 33.6%. The Dodgers have always done a pretty good job at, taking these guys, bringing them in, and just helping them just be better pitchers. And hey, it's working with Tyler Anderson this year. I love what he's doing for the Dodgers. He's been huge for them. At number 8, I have Andrew Vaughn. The White Sox have been disappointing this year, but Andrew Vaughn has been very solid. If we take a look at his numbers so far, hitting .315 with a .370 on base, a .485 slugging, a .147 WRC plus, 6 homers, 29 RBIs. Now, if you compare that to last year, his numbers last year weren't very good. Only hit 235, a 309 on base, a 396 slugging. Did have 15 home runs and 48 RBIs, but considering he was the third pick in the 2019 draft, well, we were expecting to see a little bit more out of Andrew Vaughn. But last year, he actually did make an adjustment mechanically. If you take a look here on Fangraphs, you can see back last May, there was a little more movement in his hands as he was loading up, but he made an adjustment, and the hands, as you can see here, a little more stable in August. So he made that a slight adjustment mechanically, and it just led to the barrel being in a better position, just making better contact overall, and the numbers show that. If you look at his contact percentage last year, it was at 78%. This year, it's up to 83.3%. He's even making more contact outside the zone, 61.4%. Last year, up to 69% this year, and he's also being a little less aggressive. The first pitch swing percentage was at 24% last year, and this year it's at 20.7. So he's making better contact, being a little less aggressive. Andrew Vaughn, as you can see, the numbers are surely showing that he is making a lot of improvements. At number 7, I have Jameson Taillon. Back last year for the Yankees, Taillon didn't really do all that much. He was okay through 29 starts, but he was never really able to go deep into games. His ERA was a 4.30. FIP was at a 4.43. A little under 9 strikeouts per 9, a little under 3 walks per 9. Not bad by any means, just not, nothing special by any means either. But this year, he has looked a lot different. Through 12 starts, a 2.93 ERA, a 3.15 FIP. And the one thing I want to point out before I show you the biggest changes that he's made is that his strikeouts are way down. 8.7 last year to 6.9 this year. But his walks are way down as well. 2.7 last year to 0.9 this year, and the home runs are down as well. Why? Simply, he is throwing less fastballs. Last year, 49.5% of the time, down to 32.5% of the time this year. He's throwing his cutter a lot more. He's throwing his slider more. The curveball is actually throwing a little bit less of, but the sinker is something he's throwing a lot more as well. And that's actually translating to more ground balls. Last year, he had a 33.2% ground ball percentage. That's up to 44% this year. The Yankees have some good infielders there. They have a good defense, and that's just helping out Jameson Taillon that much more. He has been much better than he was last year. Less fastballs, more off speed, more ground balls has been the recipe for success. Coming in at number 6, I have Didi Gregorius. Speaking of Jameson Taillon and the Yankees, let's talk about a former Yankee, Didi Gregorius. He was so bad last year that he came into the offseason not even guaranteed that he was going to be the shortstop this year, but he has made a lot of improvements. Take a look at the numbers, hitting 298, a 356 on base, 426 slugging. He did miss around a month with a knee sprain, but he's come back recently, and he's actually been hitting pretty well. So Didi Gregorius is looking a lot better than he was last year. Look at these numbers from last year. Over 103 games. Only hit 209, a 270 on base, a 370 slugging. Well, the big thing with Didi Gregorius is that he was going through a lot of health issues last year, mainly with his elbow. Ended up finding out that he had some bone spurs in his elbow, ended up getting surgery for it. But in the beginning, they thought it was just inflammation. They gave him medication for it. That was causing him to really just feel sick a lot. And then he had COVID-19 at one point, ended up going on the COVID list. So his year was just all erratic last year, but he's feeling much better this year, besides the whole thing with his knee. The elbow is looking really good. But let's take a look at some of the adjustments that he's made at the plate. The big thing that I'm seeing here with Didi Gregorius is that his pull percentage is a lot lower. 44.5% pull last year, down to 30, while his straight percentage up the middle is up from 32.5 to 43.8, and his oppo percentage is up around 3%. So to me, he's not trying to pull the ball. He's just letting the bat do the work, just trying to make good contact, get the bat on the ball. And as you can see here with his numbers, they're a lot more improved. We still haven't seen any home runs, so I think he's kind of dialed back on trying, like as you can see with the pull. It's down, so he's not trying to just hit home runs like he was at Yankee Stadium. Now he's just focusing on making good contact, getting on base, just trying to be a productive player. And before I move on to the next player, I noticed one more thing about Didi Gregorius. As you can see here, his first pitch swing percentage is up right around 5%, and his swing percentage overall is up about 6%. So he's being a little more aggressive, especially on the first pitch, and he's just swinging the bat more. He's making better contact. Didi Gregorius, much better this year. At number 5, I have Owen Miller. The Cleveland Guardians have been playing some great baseball lately, and Owen Miller has been a lot better this year in that lineup. Taking a look at the numbers through 53 games, hitting .268, a .321 on base, a .426 slugging, a .111 WRC+. These are much better numbers than what they were last year when he came up. Over 60 games, he only hit .204, a .243 on base, a .309 slugging, a .49 WRC+. I mean, even look at the base running, negative 2.3 this year at 0.9. Now, Owen Miller had to make some adjustments in the offseason mechanically. If we take a look here on the Akron Beacon Journal, he said here that he was coming up too much with both his body and his hands instead of having them stay back and in. The result of coming up too much last year was that he wasn't staying on the ball as well as he'd like. Keeping his hands back and in has put him in a better position to barrel the ball a higher percentage of the time. He was also saying here that he just focused on feeling more grounded, more ground-to-ground connection in the swing, just having a better feel for his swing overall, and it has definitely showed some good results. And if we actually take a look here at the batted ball profile, he is hitting a lot less ground balls, 55.8% ground ball percentage last year, down to 42.9% this year. His fly balls and his line drives have actually gone up. And if we take a look here, the topped percentage is way down, 12%, and he's getting under the ball more, which means he is creating more launch angle, 6 degrees last year up to 10 degrees this year. And one more thing about Owen Miller, his plate discipline has actually improved as well. In 60 games last year, he saw a total of 750 pitches, but in 53 games this year, 7 less games, he has seen more pitches, 835 total. His walk percentage has improved as well. If you take a look here, 4.5% last year, up to 7.4% this year. He's striking out less as well, 26.7% last year, down to 19.1. So just a better swing overall, making better contact, more patient at the plate. Sounds like a recipe for success, if you ask me. At number 4, I have Ian Happ. Remember a couple of years ago in that shortened 2020 season, it was looking like maybe Ian Happ could win an MVP award that year. What the heck was going on? But last year, the slash line really stumbled. He had a good amount of home runs, 25 home runs. That was a career high. But again, the slash line was no bueno. But this year, the slash line is a lot better, hitting .282, a .381 on base, a .464 slugging, 134 WRC+, compared to last year where he only hit .226, a .323 on base, a .434 slugging, and a .103 WRC+. Yeah, sure, home runs, those are nice, but this year he is focused on simply trying to get the bat on the ball, making better contact. And as you can see here with his contact percentage, 76.9%, that's a career high. He's making more contact in the zone and outside the zone. So that's been the pure focus with Ian Happ. And actually, if we take a look here with Ian Happ, that's translated more to balls that are just more up the middle. In 2021, he had a 32.7% straight percentage, and this year it's up 5% to 37.7. He's pulling a little less. He's actually going oppo a little less. He's just trying to make good contact. That's pretty much the secret with Ian Happ. I do wonder if he'll end up being with the Cubs after the deadline. We'll have to wait and see. I think that bat could be really helpful for a team. We'll have to wait and see, but Ian Happ, a lot better this year. At number 3, I have Martin Perez. Why could we not have these adjustments for Martin Perez last year? We could have really used it for the Red Sox, but what can you do? Martin Perez, he's having an awesome season this year. Take a look at these numbers. Through 13 starts, a 2.10 ERA, a 2.63 FIP. He did just get hit hard recently by the White Sox, but bounced back really well in his last start against the Tigers. 7 innings, struck out 5. Man, oh man, Martin Perez having himself a really good year. really, there's not a whole lot to this. Martin Perez, he's just focusing on the ground balls. As you can see here, the sinker last year, 25.3% of the time. This year, he has gone full ground ball picture mode, 36.1% of the time. And actually, you can see here, his ground ball percentage is up around 10% from 43.6% last year all the way up to 53.8% of the time this year. The Rangers, they're shifting a lot more for him than the Red Sox were last year. 19.6% last year against righties, up to 24% this year. Against lefties last year, the Red Sox were shifting 62.5% of the time. This year, right around 73% of the time. Really, not a lot to talk about here. Martin Perez, he's just gone full ground ball mode. And as you can see, the numbers speak for themselves. Coming in at number 2, I have Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright has been so good this year for the Atlanta Braves. 12 starts, a 2.57 ERA, a 2.85 FIP. These numbers are crazy looking compared to what they were in the past. If we take a look, last year, he only had 2 starts, but look at that ERA, right near a 10. Look at 2020, 8 starts, 5.21 ERA, a 5.90 FIP. 2019, 7 games, 4 starts, an ERA in the 8s, a FIP in the 6s, 4 starts in 2018, ERA mid-4s, FIP right near a 9. Are you kidding me? These numbers have been terrible early on in his career, but he has really figured it out this year. Taking a look here at Kyle Wright, the big thing really is throwing a lot less fastballs and a lot less sliders. He's pretty much just gotten rid of that slider, and he's throwing way more of his off-speed pitches, more curveballs, more sinkers, more changeups, just utilizing those off-speed pitches more. And especially the sinker, his ground ball percentage is up quite a bit this year, 42.1% of the time last year, all the way up to 50.8% of the time this year. The Braves, they have a good infield defense, so they're doing the work behind him. But Kyle Wright, man, he is having himself a phenomenal season. As of right now, he ranks 15th in Fangraph WAR. You gotta love what he's doing. He's just simply using the off-speed pitches more, not focusing so much on the fastball. He pretty much got rid of the slider, throwing those off-speed pitches more, having that defense work behind him, and it's really working this year. And one more thing about Kyle Wright's sinker. Last year, it was at 13.1 inches of vertical movement on average, and this year, it's up to 17.4 inches. The sinker is so much better, getting more ground balls. I'm excited to see what Kyle Wright does for the rest of the season. And coming in at number 1, I have Tarik Skubal. Man, he has been good this year. Through 12 starts, a 2.71 ERA, a 2.29 FIP. If you take a look at his numbers last year, a 4.34 ERA, a 5.09 FIP. Strikeouts were right around the same, but he's getting less walks, down from 2.8 to 1.5, and a lot less home runs, down from 2.1 to 0.5. Very, very, very good. If you take a look here at Tarik Skubal, there's not a whole lot really to talk about. He's made pretty much just one minor change. He's throwing the fastballs a lot less, and he's throwing the sliders a lot more. Fastballs right around 43% of the time last year, down to 28% this year. The slider, his best pitch, 23% of the time last year, up to 31% this year. So, hey, it's your best pitch. You might as well lead with it. And if you take a look here, the fastball last year was actually very hittable. Hitters were hitting 291 against that fastball last year with a 611 slugging. And this year, it's a lot better. 241 batting average against it with a 397 slugging. He's also getting a lot more ground balls. If you take a look here, ground ball percentage was at 38.5% last year, all the way up to 47.3% this year. And if you take a look at the leaderboards as of right now, everything that he has done to all the adjustments that he has made, it has made a huge difference. He is 4th overall in Fangraph WAR. I would imagine you're going to see him at the All-Star game. But man, oh man, Tarik Skubal, he has made a lot of changes for the better. He's only 25 years old. Who knows how much better this guy could get. But let me know down below what you think. Tell me what you think. Do you think I should have maybe moved some guys up on the list, maybe down on the list? Did I leave anyone off? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. But that's all I have for right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.